Welcome to Rant Apocalypse Talks Daredevil Season 2, Episode 2, Dogs to a Gunfight. In this episode, Matt Murdock recovers from the recent attack from the brutal vigilante that we will come to know as the Punisher, and Foggy and Karen, they fight to protect their new client Grotto from both the law and the kitchen's newest vigilante. Sadly, no Hank for this episode recap, but I'm here to give you my overall thoughts on the episode, as well as my top 5 most badass moments from Episode 2, Dogs to a Gunfight. But overall, I thought this was a really good episode. It was a nice kind of slow down episode for the most part compared to the breakneck speed of episode 1. But I really love the fact that we learned more about the Punisher in this episode. We got to see Foggy step it up big time, and I'll get into a little bit more of that later. Some other things that we saw in this episode that were interesting to see how it played out in the episode was Karen's guilt. She talked to Matt about the Punisher, but she was talking to Matt about how she thought that this was inevitable, because Matt asked her, do you think he's crazy, this vigilante that's just bringing this brutal justice to the streets of Hell's Kitchen? And yeah, she goes, I think it was inevitable. And Matt kind of, he looks like awestruck. He's like, what do you mean inevitable? And she goes into, I think we created him. The fact that they allowed Daredevil with his vigilante justice to kind of take over Hell's Kitchen and do what the police could not, that those actions kind of opened the door for an individual like the Punisher to come along that took Daredevil's actions a little bit further, a lot further, with killing people in these brutal ways that he's done in episode 1 and episode 2 of season 2. And it's just kind of interesting to me because I do think that Karen's guilt plays into a little bit of this, because the way she killed Wesley in season 1, and I can't remember this, and whenever I get Hank back on to discuss more of the episodes for season 2 of Daredevil, I'm gonna ask him this because I just can't remember. Does anybody know that she killed Wesley? I can't remember. Honestly, even though I just watched the season, I cannot remember for the life of me if anybody realizes that she was the one that killed Wilson Fisk's main bro crush of Wesley. But I love the fact that I think Karen's guilt is playing a little bit more into season 2. It was very interesting to see how that played out. And last but not least, Matt, he's kind of struggling with what he does as Daredevil and being related to the Punisher, being related to this vigilante. When he kills people, he kills people. He shoots the shit out of them, and it's just, it's a horrible and terrible way that he just kills everybody. And Matt just can't even fathom the fact that he's being related to somebody like the Punisher. So I thought that was very interesting to see that play out in this episode as well. But overall, I think it was a phenomenal episode, and I think it's time to get into my top 5 moments from the episode. Foggy's frantic search to find Matt. The bromance is real, people. I absolutely love Foggy and Matt. The way that Foggy is using different con tricks to get into these buildings because he's desperately searching for his bro crush, Matt. And the way that he comes up on the top of that rooftop, he sees Matt's body. He's just laying there and he's screaming out, no, Matt, no. And whenever Matt came to in that moment, I seriously wanted to cry, folks. It was the most touching moment that I think I've seen on the show. The way that he loves Matt is the way that we should all love people as human beings. You could almost say that season 2 is as much about Foggy so far as it is about the Punisher and Matt and the Daredevil, because he's had some epic scenes in the last 2 episodes. He had some great scenes in episode 1, Bang, and they continued in this episode because that scene with the DA, holy crap, that was just totally badass. I love that. Cut the shit, lady. You're dealing with us. I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that Foggy is so loyal to Matt and his cause because, he knows that he can't be the Daredevil. He can't go out and kick people's ass at night, even though in episode 1, he stood up to the dogs of hell, and it was an awesome moment. But he realizes that this is his way of taking the trash out of Hell's Kitchen. And man, I loved it. God, it was so epic whenever you see the DA's face just change, because she's like, what? This dude just told me off, and it was incredible. Way to go, Foggy. I absolutely love that scene. The vigilante gets a name. Nope, not Killdozer and not Dumbass with a Gun. The Punisher. I love that we get into this quick. We don't drag this out. In season 1, as Hank and I talked about in our recap of season 2, episode 1, they really dragged it out with the mystery of Wilson Fisk. The fact that people couldn't say his name. Not even his own people couldn't say his name. And it was kind of cool how they did that. That there was so much power in his name, but there also is so much power in the Punisher's name. The fact that we get it stated so fast in season 2, and just the way that everybody, they talk about him. You hear Brett talking about the Punisher. He says, he's taking out the bad guys of Hell's Kitchen, not in a Daredevil type of way, but in a Death Wish type of way. Because Charles Bronson, man, he takes people out in some pretty epic ways in Death Wish. I love the fact that we got introduced to his name so quickly. I mean, you can't have a cooler name than the Punisher. A guy going around and basically just distributing his brand of vigilante justice. I love it. I can't wait to get more of the Punisher in season 2. The Punisher isn't into kiddie porn. This scene in the pawn shop was badass in every way. I mean, first off, what makes someone bring porn up as their sales pitch? I don't even understand that. I've never gone into a pawn shop, which I would typically go into pawn shops looking for like the most random items, and the dude comes up and is like, so you into granny porn, kiddie porn? No, that's just, it was very skeevy and creepy, and I love the fact that the Punisher, he doesn't let any scumbag go unpunished. From the top of the ladder, like the Irish dude, down to this low level just loser at this pawn shop. As soon as he heard that, whenever he said, oh, maybe you're into something a little bit younger, barely younger, she's 12. He's like, that's the kind of stuff that you're into, I can tell. And then the Punisher, he just flips that sign around from open to closed and then proceeds to beat the dude to death with a bat. Which, I'm a fan of The Walking Dead, and it kind of drew me into this whole Negan thing that's going on with season 6 right now, and I loved it. Except I'm not going to love it on The Walking Dead whenever that happens, because that's going to mean the end of one of our characters, our beloved characters. But man, it was brutal. I loved it. Took care of that asshole pawn shop guy. Okay, this is kind of a long, drawn-out number 1, but first part of my number 1, the Punisher's attack on the dogs of hell. I loved how this went where, the old guy, the old blind guy, he's just cleaning up the blood after these dogs of hell's guys just basically took over this truck. I don't know if they killed that guy that was driving the truck. I don't know. He looked pretty damn dead to me. But as that old guy's cleaning the truck, you just hear gunshots going off in the background. This dude's jamming out to some heavy metal. I don't know what he was jamming out to. But the scene where the blood splatter goes on the truck and this old guy's like, What's going on there? Turns around and you just see the Punisher walking, just like he's so stoic when he's walking towards somebody. You know that you're done. This is it. The Punisher, he's gonna kill my ass. At this moment, you're done, and the old guy can tell it. And I love the fact that we get to see this old guy come up again, because this freaking dirty ass district attorney uses Grotto for a trap, and then we end episode 2 basically the same way that we ended episode 1, with an epic fight between the Punisher and Daredevil. It was this badass knockdown, drag out fight that was just, it was so cool, because you see all the gunshots going off and you see these two badasses just going at it with one another. It was kind of dumb on Matt's part, and that's what, ultimately led to him getting beat by the Punisher, was the fact that he didn't wait. He's definitely got a concussion or something going on right now that's throwing everything off with his hearing ability, and as we know, that's like that's his ticket right there. He can't lose that. Otherwise, he doesn't have the advantage over a lot of his opponents. And the Punisher, he definitely keyed in on that. And it was a badass fight. I love the way that Foggy, he was going after, he basically screams out. He's like, no, no, as they were saying, take the shot, take the shot. It was an epic way to end this episode. It leads me to a question, though, that I would love to hear in the comments below. How long before Karen discovers what Matt really is? And I say what instead of who, because I think it's ultimately Matt. It's inside Matt, regardless of if he wears the Daredevil costume or if he's just wearing his glasses, his Superman outfit, basically, where he puts on the glasses and he's no longer Daredevil. Yeah, how long before Karen discovers? Because when Froggy yells out and he's like, no, and he frantically runs out there because he doesn't want Matt to get caught up in the crossfire. He doesn't want him to get shot. She's going to figure it out pretty soon. And I'm just curious how that's all going to play out, because she's definitely being flirty with him so far in season 2. And I also wonder if that's going to kind of drive a wedge between Froggy and Matt, or if Foggy, I think I called him Froggy like a million times, or if Foggy's just kind of let that go, because we know he hooked up with Marcy in season 1, and towards the back half of season 1 they were getting a little bit more friendly, so maybe he's let that go. But I am interested to find out when and if Karen is going to discover what Matt really is. But man, this episode, it was badass. I love that fight scene at the end. I love how they're sizing each other up after they crash through the ceiling and everything. And I'm really nervous. What's the Punisher gonna do? I know that we've all seen those screenshot images before the season started where Punisher has Daredevil and he's all tied up basically from chains and whatnot. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get to season 2, episode 3. Let us know your comments, your feedback, your questions in the comment box down below. I'm finished talking about this episode, so we want to hear your thoughts, so let us know. And Hank will be back for our episode 3 breakdown. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button if you like our content. We're going to have a whole lot more coming soon, and I will go now. So, bye-bye.